So we have about 10 minutes to take questions from the audience for our first 4 speakers. It's only a very short question and answer period, so I ask you to direct your questions to make them direct, not long statements, but actual questions. And, you know, as best they can, they'll try to respond to your questions.
I'm Alaska Native, and I've grown up eating seaweed, raw fish eggs, a lot of shellfish, halibut, a lot of that. We get a lot of out-of-state fishing boats and charter boats that deplete the amount of food that my elders grew up eating. How, and this is directed at you, Debbie, how do we respond to people who argue, you natives get too much anyway?
Gosh, that's a challenging question to answer. Yeah, so the question sounds to me like when you have folks who are coming into your traditional territory and from out of state, I imagine oftentimes for commercial purposes, how do you make your case that when they're arguing that you're taking too much for your own purposes and they should have their share? Gosh, I think, I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that, but I'll give it a shot. It seems to me that, again, I mean, that's to the whole commodification of things. And we are talking just about water here, but it applies to everything. And it applies to food sources. And I think that as Native communities in Alaska, as you band together and you communicate that the salmon and the fish and the other resources that you use are part of your culture, and it's not like you could just, start eating, I don't know, peanut butter tomorrow instead. Whereas the folks who are there to make a profit off of it, that's an entirely different kind of thing. And I think it starts with education, and I don't think it's actually, frankly, educating the folks who are there in the boats. It's educating the decision makers that allow them to be there, and educating the community members that allow those decision makers to make those decisions and don't call them to accountability. Ultimately, that need to be educated. But again, I think it takes a change of heart at this point, because all of us are kind of complicit in that system today.
Hi, this is for the Winneman elders. How can we help you with the Shasta Dam issue?
You got to pick now. The question was, how can you help the Winneman in the Shasta Dam issue? And I appreciate that, because we have several campaigns that are going on, a multi-pronged approach of things that we're working on right now. But the Shasta Dam issue, we have on our website and some of the other supporting sites that work with us, we have petitions and we have letters to be sent to people like Senator Dianne Feinstein, to Senator Boxer, to the congressmen in the state of California, asking them to evaluate closely what they're about to do. Because what they're attempting with the raise of Shasta Dam is to double burden a group of people who have already suffered and have already given for the benefit of the good, or the greater number of people. So what they tell us is that they built this dam and they want to raise it higher because there's a thirsty California. But will it really provide that extra water? No. It'll flood out another 7 miles of our sacred sites and villages that were never meant to be flooded in the first place. And it will put us in a position of having to fight to protect the remains of our elders and the people who went before us that are still on the ground. And so we need you to write your letters. We need attorneys. We need money to pay for attorneys. That's why we have all these different fundraisers that we do, because we operate with no assistance from the federal government. And so having assistance in that fashion is what we need. But letters, talk to your own congressmen and senators from Oregon, DeFazio, I forget other fellow's name. The mayor's here. You maybe have her send a letter of support to stop these issues. But that's basically it. We need your thoughts on paper, but always keep your ears open, because if you hear me hollering, I expect to see your bodies down there to help me fight these guys too. And I know that I can count on the people here to do that.
And there is a donation basket right over here at the side that you can donate to as well.
Last night I saw a video on corporation, and they had something from Bolivia where the water was privatized in a region, and the poor people were paying up to a quarter of their meager income to get water, and they took to the streets, and they sent the army out and the riot police, and they stayed in the streets, and they got the water back. And I'm wondering if that's happening elsewhere in the world.
Who are you directing that to? Anybody? Who wants to take that?
Lean on this chair. In 1994, I researched the history of my old people. I wanted to bring back a sacred salmon ceremony because my people believed that salmon looked like us, and they lived in beautiful cities below the ocean floor. And they chose every spring and fall to come back into the shape of salmon to feed us two-leggeds. I researched that. And for the first time in the history in Southern Oregon, I got a bunch of people together. My husband was alive then. And we went and met with the Forest Service that I'd like to have some land to start the ceremony. So it began in 1994. And this year will be my 18th year I've finished on the Rogue River. And there was 4 dams. I have a lot of people in support of me, and I hear you talking here today, but you're leaving one big issue out of your concern. And that is our Great Spirit, our Creator, our beloved, our beloved. Don't forget prayer works. I have a lot of people that stood by me, and we got these dams off that had been on that Rogue River for nearly 90 years. They're all off. Without the beloved creators, us praying that we wanted them off, and why? That they were just nothing but garbage places. Garbage piled up, trees, limbs, everything out there. Backing up the water, some people like that little lake-like. But I said, you know, if you go out there, and I talked and lobbied with the commissioners in Grants Pass. You go out there and look. What good are those dams to anything? You know? And so you need to take them out, because they're making little lakes, and around that riparian zone there was algae building. What comes next? Mercury. And so I said, you're going to be killing everything around there if you let those dams stay. And those people know who I am. I have a lot of people that followed me in the belief that prayer works. And so they all are off now. For the first time in nearly 90 years, the Rogue River's running wild. So let us pray for the Shasta Dam the same way. Be that voice for the swimmers in the water. They don't have a voice except ours. Be that voice. Stand up for them. We eat from those waters. And the Creator knows that. He put that food there for us. He didn't put the dams there, just like Frank said, damn the dams. You know, they're just a big catch-all. And so don't forget that prayer works. be sure to listen when the Creator speaks and help you with this. And that can work for the Shasta Dam too, Frank. Prayer can work. Bless you. One more.
So how does raising the Shasta Dam affect what's left of the Wintu people? How does raising the dams affect what's left of the Wintu tribe?
How does raising the dam affect what's left of the tribe?
Raising the dam, what they're looking at is raising it 18.5 feet. That'll back the water up another 7 miles, and will flood out the remaining places that we have on the lower McLeod River that are necessary for the training of our future leaders, for the continuation of our ceremonies, and for the continuation of our culture. It will also force the removal of additional burial grounds that were never touched before. And in that way, it will place an emotional burden on us that I think may be too much to bear. We have suffered at the hands of this dam for 70 years, 80 years, 70 years, I guess it is, since 1940. What is it, 2011? I don't know. We've suffered a lot of years since that has happened. And so the raising of this dam and the failure of the government to live up to its promises, because when they built the dam in the first place, they had written an act of Congress that said, we're going to take your allotment land that we fought really hard to get, and we're going to give you like land to live on. We're going to give you a cemetery to put your burials in. We're going to do all of these things, give you money for rebuilding your infrastructure, for all of these types of things. They came in and they removed 183 sets of remains from 14,000 population. I remember there was only 395 Winnemem left. And so we moved 183 sets of remains. Where were the other 13,000? They're still there. And so we honor that place, because to us, because it's a graveyard, it doesn't make it a sacred place, it makes it a place for burials, and so it's revered in that way. And for us, we know that they're there, and it's hard for us to go to that lake. So the raising of the dam, again, will place such a burden on us that, again, we probably won't be able to come out of it, and that's why we're prepared to do whatever it takes to stop them from doing that. And I appreciate the fact that our grandmother here has added her prayers to this, because our prayer warriors have been working on this issue for a lot of years. We need to pray not so much for just the stopping of the dam, but we need to pray for good people to come into office, to take the lead, to not be afraid to act outside the interest of the money that brought them there. And so in that way, you know, we're still fighting the war. And this raise of the dam, we just need to stop. We have to stop it, because, again, it's a travesty when you have a country that says, Muammar Gaddafi, you can't do this to these people. But it does it to its own people at home. And so we need everybody's help on this in whatever way you can. Prayer, writing letters, donating money, coming down and standing with us. And like I said, you know, if you got a pick and a shovel, I know some moles that can dig a hole. Thank you.
So we're going to take a 15-minute break, but don't leave. We have Calingsis Franco, the spiritual leader of the Winnemem Wintu, after the break, and Mayor Kitty Piercy. So